Hi, my name is Shelby, and welcome to my new podcast, Tell Me Something New. I am a mental health care doctor. I'm also someone who's very passionate about dancing, art, creativity, spirituality, connecting with friends, being in nature, traveling, the things that many people like to do. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit more about myself and also why I came up with an idea for a new podcast. So I, spend my days, because I'm a professional working in mental health, helping people understand how to heal their relationship with their mind, whether it's through their spirituality, medication, therapy, connecting with their family, healing wounds from the past, their culture. I mean, there's just so many things that input and coalesce into like what well-being really is. And I am very drawn to my field of mental health because I really believe in the power of creativity. I think that our mind creates everything around us. I mean, if you look at everything around me, if you look at everything around you, if you look out into the world, all of what we have, most of what we have was created because someone thought of it. Who thought to make that fence outside? Who thought how to make a guitar? Who thought how to write a book? Like new thoughts, human creativity can create absolutely beautiful things, and it can also create absolutely negative things. So I am personally very drawn to this idea, and that's why I chose to become a mental health care doctor particularly. And I just want to share my understanding of that with you and encourage you all to do that. So I am sort of a self-help junkie. I've read so many different genres of self-help. I love self-help books. And I admire and have been really inspired by so many different authors. One of whom is, Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. What an absolutely wonderful author. And as I've learned more in my own readings and in learning to become a therapist and in learning to become a mental health doctor and in hearing from people and in reading other forms of self-help, what I've sort of realized, as well as in spirituality, what I've sort of realized is there's a lot of very similar themes that are all coalescing, and it's like all kind of the same wisdom, just said differently, and that's totally beautiful. And my hope would be to be able to take that a step forward or a step broader and help people, including helping myself, learn how to create truly novel or new self-help ideas, new things that you've never said, I've never said, they've never said, and sort of normalize that and enhance that and create like a platform on a podcast where people could come to me and they could tell me something new, truly new, something they had never actually uttered before, something they had to take time to think of and put it into a new concept and then discuss it. I think that's actually really helpful. Where did I come up with this idea? So about last July, I was in Vegas with one of my best friends celebrating her 30th birthday, and we had a night on the town at the Luxor, and we were over at the giant casino that looks like a pyramid, and we kind of made our way over to the Cosmopolitan, and we were just having a grand old time. We were having so much fun, and we met a really interesting character along the way. Hopefully he'll be on my podcast one day. And he was a poker player and really interesting life. And we just had a really good conversation. And I just was like, wow, there's just so many interesting people out there. So I was kind of thinking of like, what could I do? Like, what type of a podcast could I have? And it didn't really come to me that day, the podcast idea, but what came to me that night when I went home to the Horseshoe, which is where I was staying. So I had this thought in my head. I was like, well, what if I had a different or new thought every day? Like, what if I made myself think of something completely new every single day? What would that be like? And so from that day on in July, and for 100 days going onward, I obliged myself to think of a new thought every single day, and it was pretty challenging. I remember there were many nights right up to midnight where I was like, well, I haven't been able to produce any new knowledge or think of something new, but I did it. I managed to establish that habit of doing it. And in doing that, I feel that my world opened up. I started thinking in new ways in other domains of my life. I started making connections with things that I had never made connections about before. I started having insights with the people I work with, right? People I serve. And I really just love that idea. I just love how creative humans can be. And I certainly value that. I want to share that. I want to promote that. And I sort of landed on the idea of this podcast through that process. I think it would be really, really fun to have a repository of recordings where I can look back and be like, yeah, I was able to interview my family or my friends or people I even don't know, people that are now part of my network. I mean, that would be so cool too. So I'm so excited about that. I already interview people for a living in mental health. Interviewing more people moving forward is not going to be difficult for me at all, because that's what I love to do. And I just wanted to say that this is not a medical podcast. This is not a mental health medical type podcast. This really is going to just be anyone who wants to come onto my podcast and just tell me a new idea. Tell me something that they've never thought before and that no one else has thought before. And then just break it down and think about it, because I think that skill and that ability is so important. So important too in the day of AI, where, so often we immediately will jump to another person or another influencer or perhaps AI to help us think of new ideas. And AI is super helpful, and AI is going to revolutionize so many things, but I'd like us to also concurrently revolutionize ourselves and hold on to that, and hold on to that human creativity and that human capacity, because that's so much more important these days. So those are some of my thoughts, and I wanted to leave you all with my new thought for the day. And I'd like to try to make that a part of these podcasts, is me sharing my own ideas as well. My new thought for the day is that the earth really benefits from recycling, but our minds, not sure so much. I'm not sure so much. So reduce, reuse, recycle, right? When it comes to the earth, great. Let's treat the earth well. But when it comes to our minds, recycling is so often what's happening, whether it's a positive thought or a negative thought. And for those of you who may or may not know, Tony Robbins, the kind of self-help guru, author, prolific, amazing guy that does tons in the mental wellness and self-help space, he would have these giant auditoriums full of like thousands of people. And he would identify some brave audience member and tell them to talk about a shameful thought or a difficult thought they've been dealing with or something. And they would say it, and then they would, be like, I feel like I'm the only person going through this. And then he'd be like, well, who else has had this thought? 99% of the whole audience would raise their hand, and he would be like, see, like, this is not a new thought. This is something that humans think. And so often we get kind of stuck in these thought spirals that are negative. Negative thoughts lead to negative emotions. Negative emotions lead to typically negative actions, and that often leads to negative results. And likewise, positive thoughts. I love affirmations. Affirmations are positive thoughts said over and over and over again. And those are so, so, so beautiful. But why not take it a step further? Why not create new ones that are from you, that reflect your creativity, that reflect your mind, that reflect you? Because if you can do that, and if you can put that out into the world, other people will be attracted to that, and they will begin to do the same, right? And they will learn from you. So that's sort of the premise of what I'm hoping to do. That's my new thought from the day. So this podcast is going to be fun, relaxed. It's going to be go with the flow. It's going to be very human. And I would just love for anyone who's curious to explore this with me, to make themselves available, come and talk to me, and we'll have a good conversation. So welcome to my podcast. Thank you for your time. And why don't you come on and tell me something new?